The handshake was firm, confident, the kind men like Richard practice in mirrors before board meetings. "We're going in a different direction," he said, still gripping my hand like we were sealing a partnership instead of ending one. I didn't pull away, didn't flinch, just looked at him. Really looked at him. At the Rolex he bought with last quarter's bonus. At the corner office he moved into after I turned down the promotion because I preferred building things to managing egos. "Effective immediately?" I asked. "2 weeks if you'd like, but honestly, a clean break might be easier. For everyone." For everyone. As if the 12 people whose jobs depended on the infrastructure I built weren't part of everyone. As if the clients who called my cell at midnight weren't part of everyone. I let go of his hand. Smooth, slow. "I understand," I said. And I smiled. Not big, just a small one. The kind that sits in the corner of your mouth and doesn't quite reach your eyes. He noticed. His confidence flickered. Just for a second. "Great," he said, recovering. "HR will handle the paperwork." I picked up my bag, turned toward the door, didn't look back. Behind me, I heard him exhale. Relief, probably. He thought that went well. I'd been at Meridian Solutions for 11 years, not as an employee, as a co-founder. But somewhere along the way, titles got complicated and my name got smaller on the website while Richard's got bigger. We started in 2014. 2 people, 1 server, and a client list we kept in a shared spreadsheet. I wrote the code. He wrote the pitches. It worked because we both knew our lanes. By 2017, we had 15 employees and our first major contract, a 3-year deal with a logistics company that needed real-time tracking across 4 countries. Richard closed the deal. I built the system that made it actually work. That's when things shifted. Investors came in. Lawyers came in. Everyone wanted equity structures and voting rights and shareholder agreements. Richard handled it all. He was good at that stuff, confident, charismatic. The kind of guy who makes venture capitalists feel like they're betting on the next big thing. I just wanted to code. So when our attorney, Michael Chen, sat me down with a stack of documents in late 2017, I skimmed most of it. Equity splits, vesting schedules, dilution protections, standard startup paperwork. But I read one section very carefully. Section 4.7, ownership structure and control rights. I'd built the company's core product, every line of the original codebase, every client integration, every failover protocol. And I'd done it while Richard traveled to conferences and posted thought leadership on LinkedIn. So I asked Michael to add something. Just one paragraph, buried on page 11, right after the section about board composition. In recognition of Founder B's technical contributions and operational continuity, Founder B retains majority voting control with 51% equity stake, subordinated only by mutual written consent or voluntary departure. Michael raised an eyebrow. "You sure about this?" "I built it," I said. "I should own it." He drafted it. Richard signed it. I don't think he read past page 3. He was too focused on making sure his title said CEO and mine said CTO. I kept 3 copies, one in my desk, one in my attorney's office, one in a fireproof safe at home right next to my daughter's birth certificate. And I never mentioned it. Not once. Not when Richard started taking solo investor meetings. Not when he hired his college roommate as COO. Not when he gave himself a $40,000 raise and told me budgets were tight. I just kept building. Hey, before we continue, 97% of people never subscribe. If you're enjoying this, hit that subscribe button and like the video. It really helps us bring you more stories like this. Thanks. I didn't go home after Richard fired me. I went to a coffee shop 3 blocks away, ordered a flat white, and called Michael. "He just let me go," I said. Silence on the other end. Then a slow exhale. "Did you sign anything?" "No." "Good. Don't. I'll draft the notice." "Michael, I need you to be very clear about something. He doesn't know about Section 4.7, does he?" Another pause. Longer this time. "I don't think anyone does. It's not in the cap table software. It's in the shareholder agreement, original document. So he thinks he owns the company. He thinks he controls it. There's a difference." I took a sip of coffee. It was too hot. I didn't care. "Send the notice, certified, to him and the board. When? Now. By 3:42 p.m., Michael's courier was walking into Meridian's office with a manila envelope marked Urgent Shareholder Notification. By 4:10 p.m., Richard's assistant called me. Twice. I didn't answer. By 4:47 p.m., our outside counsel, a woman named Diane Moss, who billed $650 an hour, called Michael directly. I wasn't on that call, but Michael told me later that Diane had said very carefully, "We need to discuss the shareholder agreement, specifically Section 4.7. "What about it?" Michael asked, playing dumb. "It appears there's a control provision we weren't aware of." "You mean the provision that's been in the document since 2017? Silence. "We'd like to schedule a meeting," Diane said. "My client is available tomorrow at 10, in my office, not theirs." That night, I got 6 texts from Richard. "We need to talk. This is insane. You're overreacting. Let's just sit down like adults. I don't understand what you want. Please call me." I read them all, didn't reply to any. Then I opened my laptop and pulled up the Meridian server logs. My admin access was still active. They hadn't thought to revoke it yet. I didn't touch anything, just looked. 3 critical deployments scheduled for next week. 2 client escalations flagged as urgent. 1 system update that required manual approval because we'd never automated it. I closed the laptop and went to bed. The meeting happened at Michael's office. Glass walls, minimalist furniture, expensive art that no one really looks at. Richard showed up with Diane and our CFO, a man named Paul who always looked vaguely terrified during financial reviews. I sat across from them, calm, hands folded, no laptop, no notes, just me. Richard tried to smile. "Look, I think there's been a misunderstanding." "About what?" I asked. "About how things work. The equity structure. I mean, we're partners. We've always been partners. We were partners, then you fired me." "I didn't fire you. I suggested a transition." "With a handshake, effective immediately." Diane cut in, her voice smooth and legal. "We'd like to discuss the provision in Section 4.7, specifically the control language." "What about it?" "It's unusual." "It's binding," Michael said from beside me. Paul, the CFO, finally spoke. His voice shook slightly. "If this provision is enforceable and you hold 51% voting control, then technically, I said, I can vote to remove Richard as CEO immediately, or I can vote to dissolve the company, or I can vote to block any decisions he tries to make without my written consent." The room went silent. Richard's face went through several colors, red, white, a splotchy combination of both. "You can't do that," he said. "I can. Section 4.7, page 11. You signed it." Diane pulled out a printout, the shareholder agreement. Highlighted sections. She read it slowly, like she was hoping the words would change if she went slow enough. "This would mean every board decision, every hire, every contract requires your approval." "Unless I voluntarily depart," I said. "Which I didn't. I was fired." "You weren't fired," Richard snapped. "I offered you a transition." "Without my consent. That's a material change in my role, which, according to this clause, doesn't affect my control rights. It just means you violated the terms." Paul looked like he might pass out. Day 3. After the meeting, I got a call from our biggest client, a logistics company that accounted for 40% of our revenue. "Hey," the VP said, casual but pointed. "We heard Richard's making some changes. Just want to make sure our system's still stable." "It's stable," I said, "but I'm no longer overseeing it." Pause. "Who is?" "I don't know. You'd have to ask Richard." Longer pause. "We're going to need a status meeting this week." I forwarded the email chain to Michael with one line. "They're nervous." Day 5, the deployments failed, not catastrophically, just failed. The junior developer Richard assigned to handle them didn't have the credentials I'd set up, didn't know the manual approval process, didn't know which servers to restart in which order. 2 clients called, then 4, then 7. I didn't take the calls, but I heard about them. Day 7, Richard sent a formal offer through Diane. "We'd like to reinstate you as CTO, full authority, salary increase, Equity reset. Equity reset? I asked Michael. They want you to give up the 51%, negotiate a new structure. I laughed, actually laughed. Tell them no. They're offering $300,000 as a signing bonus. Tell them no. Day 10, the board called an emergency meeting. I wasn't invited, but Michael was. They wanted to know their options. Could they buy me out? Could they dilute my shares? Could they argue the clause was invalid? Diane, to her credit, was honest. No, no, and no. The clause is airtight. She owns the company. Functionally, legally, completely. One of the board members, a venture guy named Eric who'd led our Series A, asked the obvious question. So, what does she want? Michael smiled. We'll let you know. The offer came on day 14. Full buyout. My 51% purchased at current valuation. $8.7 million. Cash. Immediate. Plus a consulting retainer. $15,000 a month for 2 years. No obligations. Just availability. Plus a public statement that I was pursuing other opportunities. I read the offer twice. Thought about it for maybe 5 minutes. Then I called Michael. Counteroffer, I said. I'm listening. $11 million for the shares, no consulting retainer, and they release a statement saying I was a co-founder who built the company's core technology. My name goes back on the website, properly. They won't go for it. Then they can keep paying me to do nothing while they watch the company fall apart. Michael laughed. I'll send it. They accepted in 6 hours. The wire transfer cleared on a Wednesday at 2:17 p.m., $11 million. Not a penny less. No apology, no thank you. Just a sterile email from Paul with the subject line, transaction complete. I forwarded it to Michael. Then I archived it. That afternoon, I signed a contract with Arcadia Systems, smaller company, better culture. They wanted someone to build their infrastructure from scratch. Offered me equity, but this time I read every page, twice. Title, Chief Technology Officer and Co-founder. Salary, $220,000. Equity, 18%. Non-dilutable. I started the following Monday. 3 months later, I ran into Richard at a tech conference in Austin. He was at a booth, handing out branded pens and talking to a kid who looked fresh out of college. He saw me, froze, then tried to look casual. I walked right up to him. How's the company? I asked. He cleared his throat. Good. We're rebuilding. Brought in some new people. That's good. He nodded, looked away, looked back. You know, I never meant for things to go that way. I smiled, same small smile from that first handshake. I know, I said. That's why you lost. I walked away, didn't look back. You spend 11 years building something, they think they can shake your hand and erase you. They think the person who codes is less important than the person who talks. They think quiet means powerless. But power isn't loud, it's not aggressive, it's not in the handshake, it's in the paperwork, it's in the clause nobody reads. It's in knowing exactly what you're worth and making sure it's written down, signed, and locked away where no one can touch it. Richard thought he owned Meridian. He was wrong. I did. And when he tried to fire the owner, he found out what that actually costs.